Monster Wars. We'll be heading out west to the desert plains of Pueblo, Colorado in just a moment. And if this week's racing is anything like last week's, you're in for some wild monster moments. Last week, GraveDigger didn't let the crowd down and provided us with one of the most electric finishes in monster truck racing. After flipping his truck in the semifinals, it looked like it was all over for Dennis Anderson. But GraveDigger doesn't die easy. By the finals, GraveDigger was back and running in full force and pulled an upset that is sure to make Monster Wars highlights. Well, that put Dennis Anderson's GraveDigger in first place with 48 points in the season-to-date standing. Today, we have another side-by-side straight track, the kind that keeps GraveDigger wild. We'll see if he can keep his momentum going. For more on today's racing, let's throw it out to Jim Davidson.
Okay, here's the riddle. What goes up, comes crashing down, and then goes shooting back up again, and will continue to race for the next hour? No, it's not one of the mean machines. The answer is your pulse. So get ready for some heart-pumping mega action coming to you from the Colorado State Fairgrounds. And if my blood pressure can handle this, I'll be back in the pits behind the scenes, bringing you all the stories from off the track, and the man with the call, a guy who's all heart, Joe Lowe.
Call it cardiac arrest, call it what you will, we call it Monster Wars. The crowd is on their feet as we prepare for a super night of competition here in Colorado. And our Goodyear track facts point out that this is more than just a side-by-side drag race. They must maneuver right at the very start over a hill and 2 cars. Then down onto the track for the straightaway, which will take them to this, our second ramp. They must get up and over that long set of cars before they cross the finish line in the air. And the first one across gets the win. And we are ready for race number 1, round number 1, between Taurus, the guy that made it to the finals last week in New York, Jack Willman Jr. qualifying first. He goes against David Morris and the Equalizer. And David Morris has his work cut out for him as he faces Taurus.
Equalizer, I'm riding high as one of the fastest qualifiers, so steer clear of me.
Steer clear? Taurus, I'll steer you right out of the race. That's what I'll do, and show the others that your kind of competitor can easily be shot down.
Go ahead, Equalizer, make my race.
All right, we are staged and set to go. Taurus and Equalizer. Equalizer telling us he had some problems with his oil pressure in qualifying, but whoa! What a race that was! Look at this, 0.02 of a second separate Equalizer and Taurus, and Equalizer gets the win. I couldn't see it. Let's see if we can pick it up now on the replay. Here's where he powers out, and yes, he does make it past Taurus, but very close. The camera tells the tale on that one. Our next matchup coming up to stage, the GraveDigger, the guy that won it last week, and the Invader.
GraveDigger, will you buckle under pressure, or will I have to melt you down? Your demise is inevitable. And I am the one who will see you to the bitter end!
This is round number 1, race number 2, and what a matchup we have. Last week's winner, Dennis Anderson, and the GraveDigger going up against Ray Piorkowski and the Invader. 2 evenly matched trucks, one a Ford, one a Chevy. Let's take a look at them in qualifying earlier today. Ray Piorkowski qualified 8th, and the GraveDigger qualified 3rd. Dennis Anderson driving the Digger, Piorkowski in the Invader. Now, throw out what we taught you last week about these monsters, because we're in the Colorado Rockies. The altitude is everything up here. They have to experiment with fuel mixture, tire pressure. Everything has changed. The rules are entirely different when you're running at this very high altitude. And there they go. What a race! Side by side, they come across the finish line. Who won? It was Digger, but by 0.02 of a second.
Never underestimate the master of misery, for I will always lay new ground and claim victory. Invader, why don't you lay low for a while?
Well, I tell you, Ray Piorkowski certainly has changed from last week. The Digger walked away with it last week. This time, Ray was right with him. And if you'll watch on the replay of the Invader truck, you can see some sparks coming off the drive shaft towards the end. That wobble in the drive shaft could have cost him that win. You can see it when he lands right here. Sparks going all over the place. He's going to have to correct that before the next round if he makes it in. Coming up to stage, our next matchup pits two entirely different design monster trucks against each other. Wayne Smozanek's Tropical Thunder qualifying 9th, and Alan Pezo's Predator qualified 4th. Tropical Thunder, a much stiffer suspension. Predator, a much more fluid suspension. And let's see what happens as they take to the starting line. Green light, side by side. Predator then starts to pull out. He stays low and goes the distance. Predator gets the win, 5.28 seconds against 6 seconds for Tropical Thunder. This Predator truck is one to watch. Each week he gets better and better. Alan Pezo and the Predator may be the truck to watch today. Our next matchup. Hey, the Troublemaker, the first time we've seen him. But this truck is a never-say-die truck, and he's staging. But where's the competition? He's supposed to be running against Gary Porter in the Carolina Crusher. He's in the pits, and he's having some trouble starting. Let's check it out.
Get a screwdriver and take the cap off the mag. Hey, get a little screwdriver.
Boy, there's definitely some trouble over there in the Carolina Crusher pit. He can't get started. It started, then stopped, and it won't start again. Now, U.S. Hot Rod Association rules say that he has 3 minutes to answer the call. Will he be able to start and race? We'll find out right after this. We were all set to see a matchup, but Troublemaker is going back to refuel. What's the story on Crusher? Let's go to Jim Davidson with the USHRA officials.
All right, we all know Crusher's having problems. He's trying to get it started. What's the time limit?
Well, Jim, according to the United States Hot Rod Association, we put him on a 3-minute time limit, and after 3 minutes, we'll have to disqualify him from that round, and we will not allow him to run again.
Okay, Jim, we'll be back in a moment to see if Carolina Crusher can make it to the line. But first, a monster truck's nightmare. Earlier, we showed you GraveDigger's tumble, but Dennis Anderson isn't the only one to suffer crashes. In motorsports, even the toughest guys have to eventually cry out, well, we've got more racing to come, and the rescue crews are standing by. In fact, each track is equipped with an emergency rescue vehicle and numerous pit crew members to aid in case of a serious crash. So now let's see how the trucks continue to handle the straights. Carolina Crusher has rescued himself from elimination. They're getting set to race. Let's send it out to Joe Lowe.
Thank you, Luann. Gary Porter, the Carolina Crusher, does come back. He gets it started, and he will face the Troublemaker. Boy, there was some very, very tense moments back in the pits. But Porter is on the starting line right now, and let's take a look at this incredible matchup between two great monster trucks on the United States Hot Rod Association circuit. Jody, Peterson, and Troublemaker qualifying 10th after a bad bobble, and the Carolina Crusher 5th. Gary Porter says he wants to beat that 5.36 time he got in qualifying. They are lined up. Look for the green light and a go, and we're in the cab with Gary. Riding over the first set on the straightaway, up in the air. 1. Gary Porter in the Carolina Crusher smoking him 5.29 seconds as he takes out the Troublemaker. And we were along for the ride. And here's what it looked like from outside the truck. Carolina Crusher taking an easy walk over the first set of cars as Troublemaker bounces. He builds steam and comes across the finish line. That's what it takes to win monster truck races. And as far as Troublemaker, he was bouncing around so badly there was nothing he could do. He's got to learn to control that, because by the time he was done bouncing, the Carolina Crusher was already across the finish line and already in the winner's circle. So as we move on, it looks as though the Carolina Crusher will face the GraveDigger in round number 2.
What I tell you, Troublemaker got what he deserves. Now, GraveDigger, stick around as I nail you to the ground.
We have reached round number 1, race number 5, a very, very important one, because remember, all 5 winners get to come back, but also the top 3 losers get to come back for round number 2. So it's a very, very important one right here for both these trucks. The Kodiak, Mark Bendler out of Eagle, Wisconsin. He qualified 7th, going against the world champion, Fred Shafer, and Bearfoot qualifying 2nd. Fred Shafer, the veteran in the field, and he is lined up and set against Kodiak. There they go. Now it's turn-on time. Bendler suffers the bounce, but Bearfoot moves on and gets the win. Look at the time, 5:04 for Bearfoot. What a ride on the front of Bearfoot. The monster takes to the second set of cars. We're flying through the air, and what a landing. Fred Shafer's Bearfoot truck. Lots of power, lots of suspension, and a lot of travel. You can see it as it bottoms and then bounces up and straightens up almost immediately. And this is what happened to Kodiak. He doesn't have that travel in the suspension. He bounces, tries to line up, get some power, but the bounce suffers again. A lot of problems on the finish line. So the good air that Kodiak got didn't help him at all, as Kodiak goes back to the showers for the night, and Jim Davidson stands by with the winner of the pits, Fred Shafer.
Fred, you just buried Kodiak. Tell me about the run.
Track conditions are real good. Get over the first set of cars and get on the ground. Let that big Dodge do all the work. I noticed when we were flying through the air that landed real hard on the front left wheel, and looks like it tweaked the sway bar a little bit.
You know, today you're getting lots of air and you're keeping the nose up, generating a lot of power, huh?
A lot of power between the cars. Air's real good out there, and the motor's running just a tad lean.
Don't go away. When we come back, we'll have round number 2 of Monster Wars.
Welcome back to Monster Wars. Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher has definitely had a rough ride making it to round 2. When 31-year-old Gary Porter isn't rocking and rolling on the track, he's at home on his parents' farm in Wadesboro, North Carolina. Our own Jim Davidson spent the day with Gary to check out life on the farm.
They say you can take the boy out of the country. But you can't take the country out of the boy.
I was raised, out in the country, and, that's where my roots are still at. I just, a lot of people pick at me as being a Carolina hillbilly, but, in a way, I'm proud of that.
Carolina Crusher's Gary Porter can usually be found on his parents' farm, just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Hey, Gary. How you doing, man?
Hey, Jim, how's it going?
Good to see you.
Hey, glad you come out to the farm. Come on up here and help me feed the cattle.
But Gary's mind wasn't always on feeding animals.
Be a truck driver. That's something I had wanted to do, was be a truck driver, run, heavy equipment.
Gary, teach me how to drive this bad boy. Gary fulfilled his childhood dreams one step at a time, and what better way to get big truck experience than on the farm's bulldozer?
Go dig in the dirt.
I'm taking out the molehill! Woo! Woo!
That's high intensity, and Gary, I can't take any more, man.
All right.
Wait, chicken coop.
Come on, steady boy, you're not tough enough. Come on in here.
Hey, I'm going, you're going.
Oh, this smells better than the air in New York City. What was that?
feather.
So when did you stop feeding the chickens and start building engines?
Well, I guess after I got out of high school, you know, during high school I took, you know, auto mechanics and I learned sort of the basics. Then in 1985, I finally took the plunge and then I went to monster trucking full time.
Gary's one of the most dedicated drivers on Monster Wars. Single-handedly, Gary crews, races, and maintains all aspects of the Carolina Crusher.
This is a way of life. You know, I love it. It is real different from me, you know, from how I was brought up, you know, on the farm. You know, this is an entirely different lifestyle, but I love this lifestyle and I don't see me changing it anytime soon.
A competitor for almost 8 years, his devotion is paying off.
You know, I consider myself a competitive driver. You know, I think I have a competitive truck. I think everybody is concerned when I pull up to the line against them that, you know, if they don't have everything on their truck 100%, or 105%, that I will beat them.
But Gary will be the first to tell you, with heightened competition also comes danger.
Last year I was involved in a couple of, you know, pretty bad crashes. One of them in Oklahoma City with
Is that with Fred?
Yeah, with Bearfoot.
Is that where the door comes from?
Yeah, that's the driver's door. What's left of the driver's door right there, it was ripped completely off the truck. It was one of the worst accidents ever in, you know, the monster truck history. It went over the first time and I was like, it's over now. And then it felt like the truck, you know, picked up speed. It went over again, and I said, well, it's got to stop sometime. And then it laid over on its side, and, you know, it stopped, and I got out of the truck on my own, but until this day, I do not know how I got out.
Gary Porter gets mega air on the track, but off the track, he tries to stay down to earth.
It's been a lifetime dream, you know, to be racing. You know, it's sort of scary at times, you know, why was I chosen to live out the dream? You know, but, you know, I guess if I had a word, you know, to offer to anybody or, you know, to influence anybody is, you know, to try to live that dream, you know, don't give up.
Gary Porter, known as the nice guy on the Monster Wars circuit. Well, nobody knows this as well as GraveDigger's Dennis Anderson. They're neighbors in North Carolina and good friends, but on the track, friendship is put aside and they're fierce competitors. They'll be up next in round 2. But before the action continues, here's a look at how they made it to the second round. Bearfoot had the fastest time of 5.04. Other winners in round 1 are Equalizer, GraveDigger, Predator, and Carolina Crusher, adding 10 points each to their qualifying scores. The losing truck with the fastest time was a very competitive Taurus. His time was 5.07. Invader with a time of 5.26 and Kodiak with a time of 5.29 round off the 8 trucks which advanced to round 2. So hang on, the ride is just getting started. Joe Lowe, bring us into round 2.
And we're ready to go with the boy from the farm, Gary Porter and the Carolina Crusher. He is staged before a capacity crowd here in Pueblo, Colorado. But look who he's up against. His old North Carolinian buddy, Dennis Anderson, the GraveDigger. The digger truck, Chevy, 540 cubic inches. Going against Gary's Rodex 557. Gary's got a little bigger power plant, but he doesn't have quite the wild driving style of the GraveDigger. So we are set to go. The digger with the red headlights on, that signifies he's running 100%.
Crusher, you might pass the muscle and think you're the king of the course. But true evil is more than just skin deep. I'm much more than you can handle. You'd better pack it in now, GraveDigger, because if you think you can walk over me, ha! Guess again! Crusher, welcome to the evil empire, and I take no prisoners!
Let's go aboard the GraveDigger for a ride with Dennis Anderson.
All right, we're getting ready for takeoff here.
There we go. Side by side. Who won it?
All right. Old Porter was right there on my doors now. I don't know what the heck the deal is here.
Man, Gary Porter, the Carolina Crusher, or Dennis Anderson, the GraveDigger? They both want to know, who won the race? Can we tell from here? I don't know. It's very tough for me to tell. Carolina Crusher, GraveDigger. It looks like a dead heat to me. Look at this. The GraveDigger wins it. 5.40 seconds. And Gary Porter does not think that's right. He's going out to talk to the USHRA officials.
I was wanting to see the replay of Mountain Digger's run if I could. I felt like I won, and I just wanted to see, see it for myself. It had to be a close race regardless.
You know, I kind of agree with Gary Porter. It was a dead heat. Maybe they ought to rerun that thing. We'll find out if they do when we come back right after this. We're back to controversy in Colorado. Who won this race? I don't know. I can't tell. What did you call it? Was it GraveDigger or Carolina Crusher? They're right there on the finish line together, and Gary Porter is arguing with the U.S. Hot Rod officials because he thinks he won the race, or at the very least, it was a dead heat, and they should rerun it. But they say, no, no way. They say the GraveDigger won it, and there's nothing they're going to do about it.
Well, I guess I have to live with it.
I agree with you, Gary. It's like taxes. We have to live with it. Our next matchup pits Taurus against the Equalizer. Yes, a rematch of what we saw in round number 1. And Equalizer and David Morris still having oil pressure problems. But you remember, he smoked Jackie Willman and Taurus in round number 1. And now, the rematch. Can Taurus, the lighter truck, hold on and pick up a win? Or is David Morris, oil pressure problems and all, going to be able to make it 2 in a row? You might say this is the battle of the former world champions. Equalizer was the world champ in '89. Taurus had it in 1991. They've been arch rivals throughout the years.
I'm pistol fed. The Westwood won in a day, and I'll be riding high after running the Equalizer straight out of town.
Taurus, how about low riding? I showed you who's boss in round 1. Now it's time for a repeat performance. Hiya!
Well, okay. Then you better get ready for the ride of your life.
We are set to go, tread to tread. It's Taurus 1 win, Equalizer 1 win. This will be the tiebreaker for early in the season. There they go. Equalizer with a little quicker reaction time, first off the line and first across the finish line. Equalizer, that doesn't seem like a truck with oil pressure problems to me. But this may have cost Taurus some problem. Look at him there, almost a false start. Equalizer takes advantage of that, smashes down on that big accelerator, and he's first off the line. Now, Taurus had a good run, there's no doubt about it, but he was about a half second behind Equalizer on the starting line, and Equalizer picks up the win. He moves on to the semifinals. Jim Davidson's with David Morris. Let's check on those oil pressure problems in Equalizer.
The Rocky Mountain saga continues. Maybe you ought to run without oil pressure all the time.
I have no idea what's holding this motor together. We've put some additive in it. It's a Lucas Oil additive, and I guess that's the only thing that's holding this motor together.
Well, you just beat Taurus for the second time tonight, and you did it in a handicap position.
Yeah, that's right. When I went to the line that time, I had exactly 0 oil pressure, and like I said, I guess it's the Lucas stabilizer. There's nothing else can hold it together.
Well, David, whatever you're doing, keep doing it because you keep on winning. Our next matchup is Predator, Alan Pezo. We've seen him before going up against the Invader. The Invader truck weighing 11,000 pounds, a very heavy truck. And Alan Pezo's Predator slightly over 10,000 pounds. Of course, 10,000 pounds is the minimum these monsters can weigh. And there are the cat eyes of the Predator as he prepares to take on the Invader. Alan Pezo sits up stage, ready to go on this cool Colorado night. Invader has some problems. Predator takes advantage of it, and he goes on to win it. The Invader's bobbling on that first set of cars cost him that win. There was no reaction time problem, nothing else. He was right with the Predator. Then he starts bouncing around. This is the problem with this truck. The rear end just bounces, and he cannot catch up. Matter of fact, he's having trouble staying on the track against the Predator. Predator, meanwhile, there you go. Predator's already crossed the finish line as the Invader is just coming over our camera, parked in the middle of the second set of cars. Now, you'll notice some fluid coming out of the back of the Predator. Don't worry about that. You can see that stuff dripping out. That's just coolant. That's in there to keep the engine cool. And the Predator has to keep his cool as he moves on to semifinal action.
Invader was schooled on the finer aspects of losing. And who's gonna try and swipe at me next, huh? Who? Barefoot. If you're the brave one, you better come prepared with a grisly appetite to win, because I've got a sick sense. And I will wound you.
Welcome back to Monster Wars. Monster trucks aren't the only powerhouses to run at the U.S. Hot Rod event. Tractor and truck pulling are creating a craze of their own. The power behind these trucks are awesome. In fact, they are the most powerful vehicles of any motorsport, with the capability of pulling up to 70,000 pounds. Two stars in the sport are more than just friendly rivals. They're brothers, Dan and Dave Walsh. And with the help and encouragement of their father, who was also a veteran puller, the brothers Walsh have turned pulling into a rather lucrative family operation with over $500,000 invested in their truck and tractor.
So who has the most pull here now? Now, would you say me fine boy Dan or me other fine boy Dave? Well, what do you think makes the most noise, Dan or Dave? Oh, we got a regular Irish challenge, do we now?
We've been pulling this big-time motorsport now for 14 years.
We grew into what we have now is a tractor with 5 engines and two drive trucks.
The famed Walsh brothers pulling team live and work way outside of Milwaukee on the 5,000-acre grain farm, which they co-own with their father and 2 brothers. Here, farming and truck pulling is big business, requiring many long hours of intense, non-stop labor, working on their racing vehicles, as well as tending to their jobs on the farm.
Me and my brother Dan are the ones that runs the machines. Anything that we need for the farm are pulling vehicles. We can make the thing right there in our own shop. Around the farm here, I work the spring months doing the field work and doing the shop area, which you're looking at 60 hours a week.
What works good with tractor pulling and farming, during the busy season, usually there's no tractor pull, so we can get our crops planted.
I do all the work on the pulling equipment in the summer. You're still looking at 60, 70, 80 hours a week.
But when the brothers Walsh aren't working hard, they're playing hard at yet another competitive family sport.
Back 10 years ago, when we weren't so busy pulling, we used to go to tournaments, 6-man tournament and 2-man tournaments. We used to travel around at pull tournaments. Then we got busy in tractor pulling.
Now Dave and Dan play just for fun with their other brothers, James and John, who still compete in tournaments. But me boys, what else do you do for fun?
When we're not so busy at the farm, or if I do happen to get a Sunday off or something when we aren't truck pulling, we spend time with the horse. The kids enjoy riding the horse, and I'm there to help them. And that's kind of like our family time.
Okay. Whoa! I pull 20 weekends out of the year. There might be times where I'm gone a week or 2 at a time. But when I'm home from pulling, I like to play t-ball with my kids. They enjoy that.
So, who has the most pull here now?
Dan.
Dave. Dan.
Irish Challenger.
Of course, Dave.
I'm staying out of this one. In the 2-wheel drive class, I got a truck, and my brother Dan has a truck.
My brother and I mean, we work together.
I work on his motors.
And I give him ideas.
But when it comes to pulling, we're on our separate tracks.
So, who has the most pull here now? Is it Dan or is it Dave?
Both.
In '91, the Walsh brothers were the first pulling team in history to win 2-point titles. Dave with his tractor and Dan with his truck. Their ultimate goal now is to garner a Point Series championship with their tractor and their recently built tool drive. We wish them the best of luck. And now, back to the monster truck action.
Our fourth and final race of round number 2. One of these trucks goes to the semifinals, one goes to the showers. The Bearfoot Dodge, Fred Shafer out of Pontoon Beach, Illinois, the world champion, facing the Kodiak truck, Mark Bendler's truck from Eagle, Wisconsin. Kodiak and Bearfoot ready to go at it, with one going to the semis. Mark Bendler is staged. They bring Bearfoot up. Wait for the green light, and then it's showtime at the Colorado State Fairgrounds. Bearfoot with a great hole shot. He powers out and takes the win easily. Mark Bendler's Kodiak could not keep up with Bearfoot. It was as simple as that. He was out-horsepowered. One has to wonder if the altitude we talked about earlier had anything to do with the problem that Mark Bendler seems to be having with Kodiak here. There just doesn't seem to be any power at all there. And this altitude definitely takes its toll on power in those big engines. He can just barely get enough power up to sail across the cars. But it's already too late. The win for the big Bearfoot world champion, Fred Shafer. What a great running truck. Up and over. He is the world champion because he has the right combination of equipment and concentration and, of course, skill. He's been driving a long, long time. So, our semifinal action will pit the world champion Bearfoot Dodge against Alan Pezo's Predator. That should be quite a matchup. And if that wasn't enough, our second round will feature Equalizer against the GraveDigger. 4 of the best monster trucks in the world coming up when Monster Wars return.
GraveDigger. Can this be our date with destiny or just a mere frolic with fate? Any way you look at it, I'll turn you upside down.
And a big Rocky Mountain high from the crowd here at the Colorado State Fairgrounds, and they have reason to stand up and cheer. It's semifinal action, and we've brought it down to the top 4 trucks in the world. David Morris's Equalizer comes into stage right now. And who is he going to face in this semifinal action? None other than Dennis Anderson. GraveDigger fans love this truck. The red headlights are on. Now, both these trucks are very competitive. Average time for Equalizer 5.37 on this course to GraveDigger's 5.46. Yes, that's a little less than a tenth of a second in average time between these two trucks. The GraveDigger and Dennis Anderson with the camera inside. Let's go up and in the cockpit and see what's going on with the big boy from North Carolina.
All right, baby, we got to do it. Because old David, he's going to bury that thing for all it's worth, man.
And I know Dennis Anderson, he'll do the same. We are staged waiting for the green light. Who's going to go to the finals?
Equalizer, step down. The deliverer of devastation has found a new victim. Thought you could outsmart me? Well, as you know, misery loves company.
Who do you think's going to win this matchup, Equalizer or Digger? We'll all know in less than 6 seconds from right now. There they go, side by side. Equalizer has a slight lead, and Digger seems to come from behind. Who won it? I couldn't tell from that perspective. Dennis Anderson, you're up in the cab. You were right there in the front. Who do you think won that race, you or Equalizer?
I don't know. That was tight.
Well, Dennis, we have a camera on the finish line, and the results are clear. The win goes to the GraveDigger. The Equalizer did his very best. David Morris took the Equalizer truck to heights that it probably has never, ever been before, but he could not catch the Digger tonight. Equalizer has a whole week to work on those oil pressure problems. GraveDigger has just a few minutes to cool down and get ready for the finals, because GraveDigger goes to the finals. Jim Davidson is standing by with Dennis Anderson.
Dennis, another very close race, and again, this one decided right at the finish line. What's going on out there for you?
Hey, man, I don't know. I tell you, it's been some close racing all night. I wasn't sure if I won or not. Yeah, I guess I did, because here we are, you know. But I knew Equalizer was going to be tough. You know, he was going to kill this truck for everything it was worth, because I heard a comment earlier in the pit, so I knew that I had to make a real good run and cut a good light. But I tell you the truth, man, when I was flying through the air, Equalizer was right there on my door, you know, so I wasn't sure about it when I hit the ground on the other side.
Now, who's going to face Digger in the finals? Will it be Predator, Alan Pezo's truck, his average time 5.54 seconds, or the world champion Bearfoot, averaging 5.66 on this Colorado track? Predator and Bearfoot. One goes to the finals, one goes back in the pits and waits till next week to see what he can do.
Barefoot! Oh, hobble on your way! Because this is your unlucky day. Because I'm famished and you're dead meat!
The trucks are staged for semifinal action. It's Predator and Bearfoot. There they go. Predator actually has a hole shot. Bearfoot powers up, and there's no doubt about it. Bearfoot's going to the finals. He's going to face the GraveDigger. Fred Shafer was a little slow on the start, and that's very, very unusual for him. But it's what happens at the finish line. And look at this. He's so high, it's the rear tires that the camera picks up. Predator had the lead at the beginning, but he didn't have the horsepower to keep up with the world champion Bearfoot. Predator falls down, can't get up again, and Bearfoot sails up over the cars and into our final. This could be the matchup of the century. Now, Digger is already back in the pits cooling down. Fred Shafer has Bearfoot back there. His fiancée, Kathy, is working on the truck. Boy, tensions are running high back in the pits. They're sort of playing some mind games back there now to see who's going to be the first to go out for this final race.
Hey, why doesn't Digger go? Why is Fred not
Wait for him to
sit
start.
there?
Just have him start and he'll go.
And we'll be back with the incredible GraveDigger Bearfoot matchup right after this.
Welcome back. We're almost set for the finals. Another exciting finish is guaranteed on Monster Wars this week. Two crowd favorites, Bearfoot and GraveDigger, will battle it out at the line, and 170 feet later, we'll have our winner. Let's send it out to Joe Lowe.
The crowd has been treated to one of the most incredible nights of monster truck racing ever, and it's all come down to this. GraveDigger Dennis Anderson going against the world champion, Fred Shafer Bearfoot. Fred Shafer's fiancée, Kathy, has got to be the most excited person here. I know that's hard to believe, but she's bouncing around back in the pits, pacing back and forth as she watches Fred. We are set now, waiting for the green light. Both trucks come up, edge their way up. Bearfoot got here by defeating Kodiak in rounds 1 and 2 and taking out the Predator in the semis. How did the Digger make it? It wasn't easy. First, he had to defeat the Invader. Then, Carolina Crusher in that questionable call. And finally, in the semis, he took out David Morris and the Equalizer. Up in the truck, Dennis Anderson looks over at Bearfoot.
Burnout. We got to pin old baby for all she's worth. I got to take off, light the motor, get over this first hump, try to keep those back wheels down, and just God darn nail it, man.
Did y'all get all that? Here we go. Green light, go. Dennis Anderson looked like he almost red lighted. And it doesn't make any difference because Bearfoot finds the horsepower to take out the GraveDigger. Kathy picked up on the red light. She doesn't care because she heard that Bearfoot won it. Dennis Anderson had all that going through his mind, and he red lights right here. You see the tires move. That's a red light. Fred Shafer just nails it. He says, I'm not going to back up. He saw Dennis move, but he waited for the green light. And that's why the world champion is winning today. What a great day for GraveDigger. He almost went the entire distance for the second week in a row. But this red light right on the starting line cost him the win. But the Digger will be back. Don't count him out. Next week's another week and another race.
No one can nail me down forever. I will never die. Revenge is drawing near, so don't mark me out. I will return to the unliving end.
It's very simple. It's called Monster Truck Racing, and the first one across the finish line is our winner. Tonight, that winner was Fred Shafer's Bearfoot. Jim Davidson is standing by with Fred right now.
Fred Shafer, congratulations, my friend. You just put Dennis Anderson and the GraveDigger away in the finals here in Pueblo.
Thank you, Jim.
Another notch in your belt. Tell me about that final matchup against him.
Well, I know Dennis is one of the hardest runners out there, so what I tried to do is get off the line with him and get down on the ground and sit back in the seat and let that big Dodge motor take over from there and try and get to the finish line first.
Well, a disappointing finish for GraveDigger, but Dennis Anderson is sure to return next week, and he'll be bigger and badder than ever. He still leads the overall point standings with a total of 85 points, followed by the winner of today's race, Fred Shafer and Bearfoot, with 68 points. Taurus finished today with 60 to round out the top three. Equalizer, Predator, and Carolina Crusher are 4, 5, and 6. Now here's the rest of the competitors for the rest of the season to date standings. The action continues next week from Houston's Astrodome. Until then, I'm Luann Lee for Joe Lowe and Jim Davidson. See you next time on Monster Wars. We'll see you then.
Promotion.